I've been a full-time creative business owner now for 10 years, and I've learned a ton of lessons along the way that I want to share with you guys. Welcome to Lesson 5, Think Inside the Box. Now, I know this is a little bit different than what you've heard before. Most of the time when you think of creativity, you think of thinking outside of the box. But I would disagree a little bit, because I think creativity is all about solving problems. And because of that, you actually are most of the time inside of a box. There's some sort of border, some sort of parameter, some sort of issue that is confining your creativity that you gotta, try to find a solution with. It reminds me of this quote that I heard one time: passion plus limitation equals innovation. We can be super passionate about something, but the reality is most of the time we're gonna have limitations, and it's within those limitations that we get creative, that we innovate. So think of your own channel or your own content. Maybe you find limitations with gear, or with having enough time, or with having cool locations, or whatever it is that you may be facing. The point is not to give up. The point is not to just come up with some idea that is unrealistic to do. The point is to get creative using the tools and the situation and the time constraints that you have. And that's where the creativity kicks in. It reminds me of when I was first starting out my YouTube channel. It was back in 2020 in quarantine. Now, I had always seen really cool creators do these cool cinematic travel films, go to Iceland, go to all these cool places, and I thought that would be so cool to do. And for a long time, I just thought that because I wasn't going to these cool places, it wasn't even really worth making cool content. But when quarantine hit and everybody had to stay inside of their homes or their boxes, it really kind of freed me up to realize, hey, I can just get creative inside of these four walls. It was a box, a constraint, a limitation that I embraced and got creative within. And that's how my whole channel was made. Even now, I'm still inside those four walls, making interesting content. So that was a constraint or a limitation that I chose to embrace. And I think that's a really cool hack that you can do when you're a content creator, and you can kind of make these limitless plans, these limitless ideas, rather than just being stuck, not knowing what to do next. Force constraints on yourself. Give yourself deadlines, give yourself location constraints, give yourself time constraints and gear constraints even. So be like, all right, this video, I'm only going to force myself to use just natural light from a window, or just my phone, or I'm going to force myself, I have to make this today and no questions asked. Whatever it comes, that's it. So just force constraints on yourself sometimes, and you'll make progress that will benefit you. You'll learn a lot, and ultimately it will be a good creative exercise that I think you can learn from and grow from. It all kind of reminds me a little bit of this story in the Bible. There's this parable of the talents. Basically, there's this guy, he's a giver. He has these talents. And then there's three other guys. He gives talents to the three guys. The first guy gets 5 talents. The second guy gets 2, and the last guy gets 1. Then the giver goes away for a while. When he returns, the first guy who had 5 had multiplied it to 10. The second guy who had 2 had multiplied it to 4. And the third guy who had 1 didn't do anything with it. In fact, he was so scared to lose the one that he had, he buried it in the ground. Well, the giver ended up taking that talent and giving it to the one who had multiplied to 10. What is the point of all of that? Basically, don't bury your creativity in the ground. You already have something special. Rather than wishing you had more or being scared to lose what you have, start working on it, grow it, steward it, multiply it. Don't just bury it in the ground. And that's really the main takeaway from all this. Embrace your limitations, maximize them. That's how you become creative. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. If you want to dive deeper into this topic, I've actually released my new creator starter pack. That is like the full roadmap for content creators. You guys can check that out here, or if you want to check out the previous lesson, you can check it over there. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, stay creative. Peace.